All right, this is Dragon X coming back to you for part two of Where Am I? How to Get Unlost and Find Your Ships in the Verse. So I am over here on Loreville to start off part two. That's going to give you a quick run through. Again, we're going to be a little bit less wordy on this one and zip through these a little quicker. Hit Loreville up. We'll head over to Microtech, hit New Babbage up, and then we'll hit one of the space station. So here we go. And we're just going to keep going. All right, so as promised, we're going to run right out of Loreville, and we're going to make kind of a speed run through this. And then I'm going to combine the two videos in a true speed run. So when I'm coming out of my hangar bay, you got windows on the left that you can keep track of. On Loreville, you're going to want to run for this elevator on the end. Sometimes you're going to come from downstairs like this, right? And it gets to be, you'll have to get upstairs on the top floor of the hab room or the hab section. And basically, we're going to go for the elevator at the end of the hall. So I'm going to keep running and sprint right to as before. We're not going to try to break the walk path, so you can just rewind and watch this if you're having a hard time finding it. And I've got the key tips of me messing around up there to give you the keyboard key presses that I'm doing in order to get out there. So on this one, there's actually two ways to go. On Loreville, I'm going to give you the direct path straight to the space station because that's the most important thing. In the future, we'll look at some maps, but I just want you to get comfortable with being able to get to your ship because it gets to be really frustrating in a brand new game that you're just logging into for the first time and you can't find your ship, which is the most important part of this game. So come out of the elevator, go to the left. You can actually turn to the right and go to a different section and then go explore around right up here. But I'm going to keep running straight forward and go straight to the ship terminal, which on Loreville, you got to use a train, much like Area 18 using the tram. This is actually a train. And you've got markers like this all over the place that show you spaceport line and whatnot. Obviously, spaceport line is going to take you to pt2 spaceport and be able to get to your spaceship. And that's where you're ultimately going to go to. So Loreville is kind of cool in that right back there in the background, you can kind of see. I don't want to, oh yeah, right here, there's a map on that back wall and there around. It tells you kind of how the train lines are organized. So it's kind of cool that you're able to kind of get that real feel of the mass transit system and be able to figure out, hey, I'm going to run over here and I need to take train line such and such, and it's color coded and you can kind of map yourself around. So it is a little bit more intuitive than some of the other places, but there are more complicated train lines. I'm going to keep running straight to the spaceport so we can get moving on over to, and again, look at the beauty of the game. See, I'm approaching pt2 spaceport. You can kind of see all the markers in the, hovering above the actual landing pads and whatnot. You can actually see some of the landing pads from here. Those are these things right here you're seeing. Our hangar bays that open up. So pretty cool. But anyway, there's it can be very complicated on how to do this. There's a whole second way around that takes you to other parts of other parts. And here I'll let you pause that, give you a good graphic, and then just pause that if you want to look at that. But it'll show you kind of how the space station or the entirety of Loreville is organized. So you can kind of look over and say, oh, the blue train line goes here. And Loreville has a really massive train system, right? I mean, it goes all the way out to 6 gates around the outside where you can spawn land vehicles and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. And just like before, I'm going to get my Prowler out because it is still on pad at Hangar 7. I want to get it out just because it travels a little bit faster in quantum. And it has the pretty quantum deal. Okay, so there we are. We've called up our ship and we're going straight to the elevators, the Wonkavators, excuse me. And let's jump up. We're going to go ahead and since my ship was sitting in there for a little while, I'm going to go ahead and call up the hangar from here so it starts opening and hopefully does not try to store my ship before I get all the way out there. So once you call that up, you can see my hangar bay is already opening up and it's ready for me to just hop on my ship and get going. We're going to try a different door to come in since we came in the back end of the ship first on previous videos. So you can kind of see how that works. And we're going to go, Actually, why don't we go up to the actual pilot seat? The bottom one is the co-pilot seat. The top one is the pilot seat, although there's not really any difference on how it flies, but it's kind of the lore with the Tavarian culture that and how the ship is designed. And I'll show you once we get up what I'm talking about. Is there is the goal with the Tavarian ship design is you aren't supposed to know where the you're not supposed to know where the pilot is sitting. So in case you're to get sniped or somebody's to attack you, they're not going to know. Let me get on cruise control and head up, and I'll show you the outside. They're not going to know if you're sitting in which seat, because if you saw that graphic as it unveiled the front, it's a two-way mirror basically, and these are supposed to be screens that are turning on so I can see outside of my ship, right? So when I go to the exterior, we'll turn this around, and you can see I'm sitting on that top section right there, and there's nothing. I can't tell that I'm there, but I could also be sitting in this bottom section. And that's kind of the goal and design and the lore of the ship, is that if somebody shoots you, they shoot through the front hangar, they're not going to know where the pilot's actually sitting to keep it one more measure of protection. So pretty cool with that. But it basically has what I call dual pilot seats, even though they call it a co-pilot seat, but you can control equal parts of the ship from either seat. So there we go. We are coming up out of atmosphere. We're going to hit 10K, and I'm going to silence out just a little bit because I'm going to fast forward through this as we jump over to New Babbage, which is a little bit longer jump. And we're going to come out of cruise control. We're going to, again, remember, hit F2 to get our map up. We're going to double right click. And then we're going to use the left click drag to spin the map as just reminders on how to do this stuff. I'm going to double click Microtech and then zoom in with the mouse wheel, and we're going to find New Babbage, which you can spin around, and the main cities on the planets are usually identified by these target markers, or target-looking, bullseye-looking targets. Okay, so we got locked in. We're good to go. As a reminder, we're going to spin to here, queue up, and we're going to make this jump, and then I will silence out while we go and get that really, really fast. And let's see. We'll get one more good look at this awesome looking ship in Quantum. So pretty and unique. There you go. Zoop, 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 and zoom, zoom, zoom. There we go. We're on our way. All right, here we go. We are approaching right into Microtech, and we're going to jump down. Let's get back into the cockpit view. And we're going to jump down to New Babbage all the way once we come out of Quantum Drive. Remember, we want to keep spooling up Quantum Drive to travel. It's very tricky as a new player. You're like, hey, I want to fly down. Does it seem very far? It is much farther than you think, just like the TARDIS is much bigger on the inside. All right, we're going to get start the spool up. My cooldown's done. We're going to make the jump on in just to show you the approach again. It's kind of a recap because I haven't done this base. I've done Area 18 and I think I did Area 18. Yeah, it was just the Area 18 approach. But like I was saying in previous videos, and just a habit that you want to get into, you can see my quantum markers there, and it's going to disappear as soon as I get down close to the planet, and it becomes a little disorienting. New Babbage is pretty sprawling, so it's easier to see the city, but as you go to smaller targets, it gets really, really hard to determine where the heck you're going to. So New Babbage being sprawling has tricked a few people with its huge, or the location of its hangar. But on depending on if it's dark or whatnot, just get in the habit, go right back into your map, just hit as long as you don't mess around with the map, all you gotta do is F2, click set route again. It picks up your last one. We're gonna tap B. We're gonna tap B again to lock and unlock that quantum marker. And then, as you can see, it's got. I'll turn it around to get it on a little darker surface, maybe. But you can see there's my distance is keyed into there. Let me put it right there. Distance at 21.0 and counting meters. Or kilometers, excuse me. I could run down here, and that's going to take me to the center of the city. New Babbage is identified, just like Area 18 has a big, huge, the tallest building in Area 18 is the center of the city, and it is the the Area 18 building, or the Art Court building, New Babbage has got this huge, beautiful new style building that has the hole in the middle. That's pretty cool because you can actually fly through it. That is the Aspire Grand apartment complex, but that's kind of at the city center. So when we respawn here in just a minute, we're going to be coming out of there. We're going to do this the quick way, but again, just to remember, we're going to try to get in here and show you guys how to locate the hangar bay while we're here, just to help you out. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And I might add Grim Hex onto this because I'll try to cut that in. Wasn't intending, but Grim Hex may become a spawn point. And I don't know. I'm not going to do Grim Hex now. We're going to pause on that. We'll redo Grim Hex as its own thing because they're looking for a pretty massive rework on Grim Hex. So here we go. We're approaching the city center, and I'll show you kind of what to look for and key things to look for when it's dark, so you're not getting too confused on what's going on. Microtech is a little easier because there's some definable things that give you like north, south, east, west type feel to it, because you can get on top of this Aspire Grand and it's oriented one certain way. You can find that pretty easily, and you can kind of see the way the roads radiate away from the center of the city, and it kind of makes a wheel and spoke kind of situation there. But we're going to say we are getting real close to the city center, the English. I speak it English. Okay, so we're going to get here, and we're going to, again, turn our navigation system off so it's not continuing to tell me that I need to go somewhere else when I start flying away, just like any other navigation system. Let's fly up, and remember, now we get to orient ourselves. Let's figure out where we're at. We can spin around. That's Ice Lake. That's all kinds of stuff. Ooh, what is that? Two big major roads coming out of what looks to be like an industrial fuel center. Kind of makes sense. And then a direct train line or road right from the apartment complex or the hab situation there, and it's going out to this wonderful little building out there kind of on its own. So let's go ahead and spin around some more, because that's the most unique standalone thing out there. You can kind of see how New Babbage is lined up, that you go from the apartment complexes, you can take these other big roads to the other parts of New Babbage, like into the core itself. But just remember, here is your hangar. It's set up there just like an airport should be. Even though this is a spaceport, it's outside of town just a little bit. You've got major thoroughfares from what looks to be like a fuel refinery type building, and your direct train line from the apartment complex right here, and it zips right out to the hangars. That's where we're going to head, and that's our spaceport. So pretty simple to find. You can see that this thing, if you think of it like a scope or a scope on a gun, let's go look at that. Let's just look at that view just in case you're ever lost. We'll say there's only two ways to look through this. So this one is as simple as it gets. It doesn't matter how dark it is. You can always figure this out, because what happens if you go through this and use it just like the scope of a rifle in game or something like that. And we're going to get down and pretend this ship is our eyeball, and we're going to look through the scope, and let's see what we see. Guess what? We see this huge scope, and we start lining it up for the shot, and it's just buildings and buildings and buildings right there upon each other, right? There's not a good clear line of sight there. So we're going to go to the other side and get the other view, right? This is the cool thing, right? If you get to play around with Microtech, you got a building you can actually get through. Okay, so buildings all around, not a really clear line of sight. So if you're a deer hunter, you would say your shooting lanes are not clear. But guess what happens get on this side. Look at that. It is lined up perfectly. If I go from the interior, it's lined up perfectly with that building in the distance, and that is our hangar bay. So there we go. We're going to fly through, and we're going to go over there and get landing requested and whatnot. It should be a top land hangar like in Lorville or Area 18. Although Area 18 has some side load hangars as well, so does New Babbage on the smaller ships. So there we go. You cannot hardly fail to find New Babbage landing zone because you literally have a scope or telescope or whatever pointed directly at the, you have got it pointed directly at the landing zone. Intentional or not, but intentional, I think so. It's easy to find. There's always waypoints and markers that are definable. They do these little smart things, and it's like Easter eggs, in my opinion, to figure out ways to navigate and get stuff. And find your and locate and wayfind yourself and all that stuff. There's a lot of tools in here, but if you're playing it the first time, it's a little too overwhelming because you're just trying not to wreck your ship. And you're going, all right, I'm nervous. I almost blew up my ship and I got to start over and start this whole 30-minute journey over again. And you go, and your brain doesn't work as well. So just try to use these tips that'll help you get through. So as you're going through all the anxiety of not wrecking your ship and starting over and all that kind of stuff and having to reclaim your ship, et cetera, et cetera. So as you're working through that, this will give you some ways that are concrete, hard, and fast ways to be able to load your ships, find your ships, take off, all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to come on in and request landing as soon as we get close. And as always, when you're approaching, you can, it's a general practice that I used to use and still do. As I was getting comfortable, I would always have the comms menu up, right? Because as I'm moving in, you can see the distance meter is coming in. It shows up at least at 10,000 meters or less. It shows you that, hey, you're within range of the comms now. So it always gives me another waypoint and wayfinder because you can see this counting down over here if you're paying attention. See, it's 79:33 now, and as I take forward, you might have to zoom in a little bit, but there you go. It'll start. I'm starting to get closer, and it gives me like a countdown to when I get directly over the hangar. Cool. So we're here, and then we're going to go ahead and use this method to request our hangar, and let's find out where we're going to go. We'll land, and then we're going to suicide back into the apartment or hab complex to show you what we're intending to show you, how to get from the habs directly to your ship as quickly as possible. So then you never have to ask yourself again, where am I? So there's our hangar again. Remember the wrench, it signifies where you're going to land because that also matches in your F1 or your mobiGlas menu. It matches this description right there. And that means you get repair, restock, refuel, and refuel options. So that's what that wrench is signifying, that this is where you go get your ship repaired, refueled, and ready to fly again. So again, if you're starting, you might want to start with doing third person lands initially, unless you really just want to go for that super high level of immersion, which is fine. But either way, I look at it. I know some of the purists say, well, if you go into third person, you're not really getting the immersion. And I go, yeah, but we're also 900 years in the future. They're probably going to have a third person camera view on your vehicles at that time. And it's not that unrealistic. Okay, so there we go. We're going to power that down with the fun landing. Let me jump out. Third person. As you can see right there, I personally find third person a little harder to land precisely because you can't really see depth perception on where you're going as well, right? To me, it's more difficult to do a third person land than it is a first person land, because the first person, at least I can get better description of where I'm at. Here we go. We're going to jump back into our hab and continue on with the purpose why we're here. We've looked at Lorville. Now we're going to look at New Babbage, how to come out of the habs. New Babbage, really easy, I think. It's a very intuitive place, but we're going to hop on up out of the bed, and we're just going to get right to it, find our exit door. Got some other cool stuff here. And look at this. You get a window. So awesome. A window directly out into the beauty of New Babbage, but we're going to keep on going. We're going to make the direct run right to the spaceport so you guys can remember. Look around. Okay. See, there's that crazy thing I just flew through. And I'm going to go over here and find the elevator. It's very much like Area 18. You got habs on each side. You run to the center, and there's an elevator right here. This is what I was talking about in the other video. You got a bigger elevator panel that's more of a call out, and it's more attractive that you can see. We're going to go straight down to the lobby. And the lobby, we're going to run around and jump to what's called the Metro Loop, or it's the train. And we're going to So New Babbage and Area 18 have New Babbage and Lorville have trains. Area 18 has that flight tram system. So, all right, we're going to come out of here. I always have to scan around just to remind myself where I'm at. Okay, going through some people coming. There's the big Metro Loop sign. Cool. But we're going to keep running down. And I'll show you in a minute when I come out of the Metro Loop what's a little bit concerning. So there's Commons and Spaceport. Again, we're going straight to Spaceport. You can get lost really easy if you don't watch these waypoints, because I can just run right over there and go to the Commons. So I use my arrow wayfinders to find that. I'm going to wait on the train. Dun, 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 dun. And once we get the train, it's going to zip us right over to the Spaceport. And I'm going to show you one thing that keeps me a little confused. It's not bad, but sometimes if you're rushing around, there's the way that you enter the Metro Loop, or you really call this kind of like a subway in town. It feels like a subway. You're going down underground until you get outside, right? But when you go downstairs to the train or subway, it gets to be a little confusing because you have, in some places, you have two sets of stairs going down that are opposite at each other, and you've got to turn, make a hard right-hand turn to go down to the second floor. So you can trick yourself, go down one set of stairs and go, oh, there's a pathway directly in front of me, run right across, and you're up another set of stairs and go, oh, I'm right back where I was. So pay attention to that. When you go to the, when you go to the Metro Loop or the train, you want to go down, down, down until you're on the bottom floor. It's just tricked me a few times. We won't experience too much of it here because we're going the other way. Just keep in mind, that's what's up. So literally, I'm trying to do this to keep it on the path where you can go footstep by footstep and get straight to your ship as fast as possible. And you can see, being that I suicided back out, my ship's already in the hangar. There it is. We're going to go ahead and call our ship up so it doesn't disappear, just like I was doing over at Lorville. I've already radioed out. So by the time I get up there, my hangar is going to be wide open. My ship's going to be ready to take off. And hopefully it won't store my ship because I called it out. So here we go. We're coming out of the hangar. Here's your customs deals. You've got like your little metal detectors or whatnot. And again, elevator pads all around. Looks like 6 Wonkavaders here. And we're going to go to NBIS terminal, New Babbage International Spaceport Terminal, or whatever that's called. I don't know what that NBIS is now. New Babbage Intergalactic Spaceport International. How about Intergalactic? There we go. Dun, dun, dun. So out of my normal not playing with sound, I clicked that a bunch of times till I see motion. Going upstairs, we're getting back out of the sub-basement, if you will. And we're going to come out of here. And we've only got one way out. Going to go down here. We're going to go through some more customs, and you see guards around here. And we're going to sprint up, go upstairs, run around, and get to a couple different hangar bays. I always have to look at these because I want to go to the wrong one every single time. So right here are ships. And if you go opposite, if you turn the wrong way directly behind me, there's actually a ground vehicle spawn point right there. So we're at hangar 10. We're going to jump right up in there for the waiting hangar. We've got elevators right here on the end, or Wonkavaders, whatever you want to call them. And we're going to go to hangar 10. And we are almost ready to take off. We're going to go see the last little spaceport, which is the spaceports. There's a lot of differences, so I just want to describe generally what you're going to be looking for. See, there's my hangar wide open. But I just generally want to describe what you're going to be looking for because there's quite a few different ones. That would be a long set of videos just to go through every one because everyone's a little bit unique. But I'm just going to show you the general layout, which is a three wing system, more or less in most cases. So there are some 2-wing systems, but I'll show you how to navigate all of them. If you use a little common sense along with these tips, it'll show you. I'm confident that you'll be able to find your way around pretty easily. All right, waiting on our pip to show up. There we go. All right, we are ready to go. We got the quick flight straight up to, we got a quick flight right up to Port Tressler, which is the suborbital station just above this city. All the major cities have these right now. Levski does not, Grimhex does not, but they're kind of a unique situation because one's on an asteroid and one's on a planetoid. So it's a little bit different situation, if you will. We're just going to hop on out of atmosphere. And sometimes this happens. Just pay attention. I do not have my attitude meter or my angle meter showing up right now. And that happens sometimes when I recall my ship. So I generally just aim up for any type of celestial body I can to keep myself righted. You can go into third person, use your Z to free look around and see, oh yeah, I'm heading pretty much due straight up from the planetary surface. Now, like with any major planet, you're going to need to get up to 10,000 meters or so to escape atmosphere so you can start to enter into quantum. So that's why you'll find leaving planetary bodies are a little bit slower. But it makes sense. I mean, that's the way of the real world is, right? Okay, so we're approaching 10K. And I don't personally like to set my quantum route until I'm over 10K because the computer's not always super smart and it may not understand exactly where I am, and it tries to warp me from a place that I can't actually start warp. And then when I get up to escape height and to escape the atmosphere, I can't do it because I'm in some kind of weird place, right? I'm not quite like it started from a altitude of 150 meters, let's say, and it tried to map me. Well, by the time I get up to 10K, I might have moved around the planet, or the planet might have spun just a little bit and the map is no longer valid. So I generally don't map myself in until I'm at a place where I can actually take off. So here we go. We're coming into a new, we're coming into Port Tressler, which is a suborbital station. This was one of the very, very newest ones, even though a lot of them were redesigned when this one released. And I'm going to show you just a little special trip. We're going to call this the emergency brake system that you have, as we've talked a little bit about flight modeling and how you do that stuff in previous episodes. We'll dig into it more, but this is like an emergency stop for me. As I mentioned, keep your comms up. Well, it looks like that one's going to be bugged for me, so we'll have to try a different way. Yeah, let me hop out. So I want to show you this. This is important. This neat little bonus tip here on how you can approach and make sure you don't overrun, sometimes slam into space stations, because believe me, it's going to happen if you're not wary of it. It has happened to everybody at some point, or they were extremely cautious coming into it. I'm just going to reset. Sometimes if you have a HUD or any kind of visual effects, if you generally reset them by hopping out of the seat, sometimes it'll correct it. So let me pull that comms menu up. There we go. And we're going to get ourselves back oriented to that big bunch of red blinking dots, which is our space station. The reason I do that is because when I'm flying up here, I want to, I'm going to go in there pretty fast. And I want to see whenever it starts coming into range, right? Still not, it didn't pop up for me. So I'm going to try this again. Oh, there, I hit the armistice zone warning. That means I'm around 10K. And man, I'm going awful fast. What I'm going to do is hit V on the keyboard and decouple myself, spin around 180 degrees, hit V again and recouple myself. And I'm going to use my big thrusters, and you could just see how fast it slammed to a stop. That is a tactic that you can use for emergency space brakes, as opposed to just slamming on the space brake or reverse throttle or anything like that, trying to use smaller thrusters to be able to stop yourself, which you use big thrusters to get there. Using small ones to stop just doesn't, it's counterintuitive. You're using a lot more or a lot less ability to stop, and you might be in an emergency situation. So that decoupling and then accelerating against your momentum after you recouple is fantastic for coming to a quick emergency stop, if you will. This place is so dark sometimes, but there we go. There's our wrench. We've got our little marker up here. I've already requested landing, so that's why I got the wrench. See, I'm upside down, maybe. All right, let's get a little bit closer in and see what my actual orientation is. Yep, I think I flipped over correctly. And let's get our landing gear down, and we're going to buzz on in and get into my landing area. gear is down. I'm gonna approach in, and we're gonna space brake at stop once we get where we want, and just, we're going straight down. All right, so there we go. We are landed. Let's hit that I to power our ship off and leave the shields up, and I'm gonna hit Y to escape out of my seat. In the current patch, as I mentioned in another video, if you hit request landing, it qualifies you as being on base, so you don't even have to go as far as getting out. But I'm a little paranoid, so I do it anyway. We're going to go ahead and backspace directly out of it, and without further ado, jump directly into how do I get out of my hab into my ship as quickly as possible, or to the ship terminals as quickly as possible. So here I am in a hab. Looks a whole lot like Port Olisar. Most of the space stations look like this. Now, the difference between this that I want to tell you guys is, and that I want you guys to pay attention to, is look at when you're coming out of these, there's a methodology behind this. So you're going to be able to follow me kind of step by step, but I'm going to slow down a little bit more because I'm going to try to use this as a tutorial to get out of all space stations. So number one, we're going to come out and find elevators, right? So you can see there's habs down that way, habs down this way, habs down this way. But in the center exchange, like everywhere else, there's a set of elevators. I'm going to get over to that, and I'm going to use the elevators to get down to the lobby, of course, or the bottom floor. So once I do that, then I'm going to start locating myself and wayfinding myself. You got to think about, in most cases, you've got to think about the space stations as a three wing system or a 2-wing system with the center interchange. So I call the 1 wing is your ship docking area. 1 wing is usually your habs, and 1 wing is usually your stores and whatnot. But then it varies because sometimes they'll mix stores over here or whatnot. So basically what I want to do is I want to generally start moving this way. So this configuration has habs and stores on the same wing. So I can go look and run around all down there, and you can see all these storefronts. And sometimes in these space stations, you can go up this way, and that'll actually be the way to leave that area. But generally speaking, you want to find a hallway to get you out of this wing, because think of it like a shopping mall, that you're on a wing of a shopping mall, and this is where all the apartments and this is where all the stores are. And I want to keep finding until I see a hallway that leaves that section of the mall and gets me to the center interchange, and then go to the other section, right? So we found the hallway. We're now no longer around stores. So that's telling us, hey, we're leaving the wing. Good. We're doing some traveling, and poof. Okay. We're up here at another interchange. There's more windows that go outside. You can see over that way. That looks like hallway. Then I turn this way, and oh, security. Look, there's our favorite little terminals we love to see that tell us that's how we get our ship. So we can run right over there and call that up, and boom, that's as easy as it is. It can be overwhelming, so I don't want you to be like beating yourself up if it's hard to find the first time. But just think, when you're coming out of your hab at any space station, look for the hallway to escape that section, because there is never a case where you leave your hab and you're right at the vehicle retrieval console. You're always going to be on a wing. Now, the wing structure may be different and all that stuff, but when you leave that wing, before you go to another wing, you're going to go to an interchange, and there's going to be a ship terminal every time. It doesn't matter if it's confusing to you, because sometimes there's only habs, sometimes there's only food, sometimes there's only whatever wing. You always want to get to that center interchange. And if you look at, ultimately, we're going to go back to that window view out here, and you can see it's a big circle, right? Everything's built in a big circular pattern. So it's basically representing that I'm going to go to here, call up my ship, and the elevators to go get my ship once I get a hangar assigned is right over here. And they're all the way around, or the Wonkavators, whatever you want to call it. They're all the way around this area. So I can always get to my ship. But don't get confused if you just stop and don't let all the noise bother you. You go, okay, whenever I come out of my hab, I need to go to the center interchange, and that will always have the ship terminals. But what'll happen if you're sprinting, okay? Just as a reminder, so this is where the habs came from. If you're sprinting and you're just trying to rush through and you're not looking for that and you say center interchange, okay, cool. Is it this way? What'll happen is you didn't see those ship terminals, and now you're running off and trailing all the way off to a whole different section of the spaceport, which you can see. Here's the design. It's got a nice little hologram showing the design of the spaceport I'm in. But man, now I'm in a whole other area, right? And there's food courts and all this kind of stuff going on. And I'm going, crap, where am I at? I'm lost. I'm confused. And it's not that confusing. Just take a step back and realize that you just sprinted through the exchange, because when I start returning back, what happens when I get to that center exchange? I go, oh, I'm so dumb because they're right there. I just made this turn and spun around this corner and did not look. So always when you're dealing with space stations, when you come out, just stop when you see a large interchange room like this where it's not a clearly defined hallway like all these were. And there's even a spot back here I would tell you to stop and just get in the habit of looking around. So I come out of the hallways right here and I look around. I said, oh, this is kind of an interchange room. Yeah, but there's nowhere really to go. Let's run on through. Oh, this is kind of an interchange room. Okay, well, look around. There's nowhere to go except for one direction. Right. And at the point, the only time you get to a center interchange room like this, that there's more than one direction, that means you're actually at the center, and one of those directions are going to be right to the pad or right to the vehicle retrieval console. So that's it. That's what you got. That was a little bit quicker one. Hopefully this will help. And I'm going to take the two videos, combine those, and speed those up for a part 1, 2 combined. So you can just have the quick maps. You don't have to listen to all the commentary back to back to back. And it'll just be, here's a very quick coming out of the Hab 1, Hab 2, Hab 3, Hab 4. Hope this is helpful to you. If you have any questions, or if it's confusing, or if it wasn't helpful, you need more detail or anything like that, don't hesitate. Put it in the comments below. I'll come back and look at these, and I'll rework the videos if they're that confusing to you guys. But I hope that helps. Hope that helps you keep flying safe in the verse. And until next time, fly safe. This is DragonX signing out. Come see me anytime at twitch.tv/DragonX, or drop any comments here. I'll be glad to make up any videos you guys want to see to make sure you're having a good time when you start the verse. All right. We'll see you guys next time around.